Hey guys, Chip again. When we went through the overview about our practice, you guys mentioned that you've done business before with companies that do similar to what we do. Then you asked, what makes you different than the other companies in this space? And that's where we can show you the difference just by doing a quick demo of some of our tools and engineering resources. So most companies in the quote unquote brokerage model focus on telecom, but they don't go deep into next generation IT such as SD-WAN, Colo, cloud, and security. And even on the telecom side, we're lights out in that as well. So we bring the entire solution set of IT capabilities. So let's dive into our tools. We're going to start out with the provider battle cards. So for every single provider in our portfolio, we put together a one-page document that contains all of the pertinent engineering and marketing information onto one concise back-to-back document called the provider battle card. And what's really cool is we train the eyes by laying these all out in the exact same format so that we can compare one provider against the others. So we start each one out with overview, services sold, elevator pitch, key differentiators, and we even know the ideal customer profile for all of these providers. Let's go on to the next tool that I think we'll use a lot for you guys. It's called the fiber locator. You guys have hundreds of locations around the United States. So how is this going to help us? Number one, we know where all the hundreds of thousands of lit buildings are in the United States. We can layer on the data centers as well. Once we add on the long haul networks, we know all of the routes that go to Europe, Asia, South America, and Canada, for example. And then lastly, we layer on the metro networks, and we know where all the fiber assets are in the United States and soon to be globally. How does that help us out in practice? Well, let's take a look at your corporate office. So we're here in 4401 Wilson Boulevard, Arlington, VA. So when we bring up your building, we're going to see that level 3 CenturyLink, Atlantic Online, Zayo, FiberLink all have fiber in your building. If we look closer, we're going to notice that your building has dual entrance facilities. This allows us to design a diverse and redundant network such that you guys don't have any outages. So anyway, that's another differentiator. Next, let's talk about the data center locator. And this goes back to the data center environment conversation we had a little bit earlier. And I noticed that you guys mentioned 4 things. Number one, hey Chip, we're in Equinix in Ashburn, and because of our overseas, offices, we're thinking about putting something overseas as well. So it might make sense to look and see what Equinix has in other countries. Number two, you expressed concern about being in the blast zone for nuclear tech because you're in Ashburn, Virginia, in the DC metropolitan area. Okay. Then the third thing you said, gosh, we could get more government contracts if we were able to prove our FSMA compliance at some facility. And then the last thing you mentioned is that we tend to bring our customers to our facilities to show them how secure we are and the compliances and things like that. So let's address each one by one. So what we're going to do is we'll start out by looking at all of the Equinix facilities all around the world. Okay, now you'll notice that it populated the whole world, and then whatever region we select, it's going to populate all of the addresses in that particular region. Since we have the whole world selected, this shows all of the Equinix addresses on the left all around the world. Okay, now let's take a look at some of those other concerns and comments that you made. So we're going to start out by going to North America, United States, and then we'll narrow down to United States. And since FSMA is a US compliance, we'll check FSMA, and then we'll see, gosh, here's all the FSMA compliant facilities around the US. Now, what would make sense to look at first? Well, Atlanta is a quick, easy flight from DC, so maybe that might make sense. It's easy for your customers to get to, that type of thing. So let's take a look at that. So we're going to actually drill in, and we'll look right at that facility before we jump on a plane and invite our customers to jump on a plane. Okay, so we're going to scroll in here a little bit. A little bit more. And we want to just take a quick look at that facility before we go there in person. We're going to take our reconnaissance guy over here. Then we're going to look at that facility. And this is the QTS facility in Atlanta. Beautiful facility, secure. Google just took down a whole bunch of space here. Great facility. I don't know if you guys noticed it on one of the last screens though, but I'm not sure, there might be a difference if you want to make customer visits here, because I noticed across the street is the Fulton County Jail. So I don't know, is that going to be appealing? Is that going to be a detractor for your customers? Maybe, maybe not, but something worth considering. So anyway, that's our data center tool. And one of the things to know is that we know in every facility around the world, we know the compliances in each facility. We know what fiber carriers are in there. We know which ones are cloud nodes, et cetera. So just another example of the differences. Let's take a look at one more difference. And we're going to take a look at our matrices. So this is all of the engineering research that we do across all of our different categories. And so this is called the cloud matrix that I'm bringing up. And this is where we take all of the capabilities, such as global reach, desktop as a service, disaster recovery. Do they offer Colo? And are they an AWS or Azure node, for example? And then we take all of the providers and we put them down the left-hand side. And we rank every company across all of these categories. So if you see strong, that means that they've done that particular capability for 2 or more years, and they have more than 50 referenceable customers. If you see emerging, not necessarily a bad thing, but they're going to miss on one of those 2 points. And wherever you see white or not applicable, we think that's just as helpful as the others, because when we first got into this business a couple of years, or more than 6 years ago, actually, all of the providers told us that they did everything really great. We called BS on that and said, no worries, we'll allow you to come back and take the test in the next 6 months, that type of thing. So with all of our tools and engineering resources, it allows us to really put together something in an apples to apples comparison for you. So for example, we talked about this before, the connectivity pricing example. This is a customer in the construction industry who, hey, Chip, we want to narrow it down from the 5 that we looked at before. We thought Nitel and CenturyLink were compelling, so we want to just let those guys battle it out for our business. So we put this little summary together for them. The next one, Colo example, this is a customer who they were in 7 different data centers around the United States, and they said, we want to consolidate into one centrally located data center, preferably either in Minneapolis or Chicago, for latency reasons as well as travel reasons. And even distance to the airport is going to be important. So we were able to consolidate it down from 8 providers down to the final 3 that they wanted to look at. And that's just some of the differences. To round it out, we handle the whole life cycle. So we can even keep track of all of your inventory around the world and put things in. You can click on a site and see, gosh, I have this provider at this MRC at this bandwidth, and here's the start date and end date of the contract. So we're quite a bit more than just a normal telecom broker. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to working with you.